Hey, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your Washington Commanders update featuring the draft. I'm checking in as I do each and every single week to give you all the latest and greatest information on all things draft. It's a jam packed show, and I know I have not told everybody who is going to be on the show. That was by design. I said, I'm not telling anybody who's on. You're going to have to watch the whole entire thing in order to know who is going to be featured on the Washington Commanders draft recap show. This is absolutely going to be a marathon. This will be a long show. So I hope you all ate your dinner or brought your dinner, because we're going to have guests all throughout the evening just sharing their thoughts. You all have sent some questions in, and I have those locked and loaded for the different guests. And as the segments come up, we'll let everybody in. So, you all look, are y'all ready? I see Cameron Mingo, I see Cedric Carter, John Adams, Eric Jessup. Have you all said hello to Mama Waller? Because she's gonna jump in anyway. She's gonna jump in anyway. So, you all listen, before our first guest comes on, and no, I'm not gonna tell you who it is. Let's go and let's do a track of all of the picks so far. What grade do you give the pick? And just share your overall thoughts while we're at it. How are you feeling about the Washington Commanders draft overall? So there's Emmanuel Forbes, Jartavius Martin, call him Quan, safety from Illinois. Then we have Ricky Stromberg, the center from Arkansas. Braden Daniels, offensive tackle from Utah. KJ Henry, edge from Clemson. Chris Rodriguez Jr., running back from Kentucky. Andre Jones Jr., defensive end from Louisiana. And I'm going to give you all a moment to take a look at this list of the 12 undrafted free agents. Check it out. Some of you all are familiar with these names. And I'm already seeing some draft grades, B-. And go ahead and drop in the chat as well why you gave the Commanders the grade that you're giving them. Cameron Mingo with the B-. Eric Jessup with the C+. Melvin Russ McCray with the B. Is it all right if I say that I don't have a grade? Can I give a grade? Can I give an I for incomplete? Can I do that? Listen, I'm excited. And I'm excited because a few things. One, I've gotten some sleep. I feel a lot better and refreshed. But I'm also excited because I get to bring on some of my colleagues who I talk to all the time. Some, maybe, I don't want to give you all too many hints. You may already know, but hey, we'll see. As they start to come on the show, you'll have to see. So here's the layout of the show, just so everybody knows. We're doing this in 10-minute segments. We'll try to have some breaks in between in case the conversation gets a little good, but the breaks in between is really just me talking to you all. I did get some questions in, so I'll have those locked and loaded for you all. But I see some other questions coming in already from Eric Jessup. So, where are the O linemen? Picked up a couple, but expected a higher priority. We kind of have that question, coming up ahead about some of the position groups. But I'll tell you this from my perspective, and I shared this on, I think it may have been the season finale for the weekly DMV Sports Update. And it was this, that it sure enough seemed like the Commanders were very confident, extremely confident in the O-lineman that they picked up during free agency. They seemed to be very happy. I had that sneaky suspicion, and many of us talked about this while we were in the media war room, that it was confirmed that they really are happy with what they have so far. I guess who based on whom they're bringing back and who they picked up in free agency. So they did pick up an offensive tackle in the third round. Of course, going back through the undrafted free agents that have signed. But I too was a bit surprised. But third round for an O lineman isn't bad. Let me say that it's not bad. It's good. That's solid. But it was sure enough, very clear to me that they were that they were ready, and that they were absolutely kind of like, we're good at this position. And I see the First String podcast has jumped in and said I was not happy with them waiting to address the O line. And we could talk a little bit about that too. Was I shocked about two defensive backs? We wasn't shocked about the first round defensive back. We knew kind of was sold on that was going to be the position of need that they addressed first. Now, in the second round, while I can understand why they did it, I was absolutely shocked that they did in taking two DBs in the first and second rounds. And we're going to have a question and talk about that as well. Here's some dates that you all need to be paying attention to. Rookie camp. Media will be able to be there on May the 12th. So we'll be in the building for that. Absolutely excited about that. I think it's May 24th, May 31st. And then there's some June dates as well. But I think I have the May dates locked in. Here we go. We got our first surprise guest. You all know I talk about him all the time. This is my big brother in the sports media game. I'm just so excited. He said, absolutely, I'm going to be on the show with you. And I said, Lake, you got to pick a time. You got to pick a time, Lake. He was like, yes, you are. How you doing, fam?
I'm good, and I appreciate being the first guest.
Have you recovered from draft? Have you recovered from the week?
I mean, I think last night it started to hit me that it was over. Finally, it's getting a lot of mixed reviews as you've been talking about. Some fans are happy, some fans are not happy. But I think in fairness, you have to give these young men a chance to prove their worth on the field and them celebrate their moment, because it's a dream come true. Something that millions of people haven't had an opportunity to get to. So you have to let them enjoy their moment.
Yep, definitely. Now, Lake, people are already jumping in the chat. Like Cameron Mingo's like, my guy, Lake Lewis. Mama Waller is already on here. She's like, hey, Lake. So I didn't even tell my mom who was going to be on the show tonight. I'm like, nope, y'all got to wait. You got to wait. Now, I got to give you this question that just came through in the chat from Cameron Mingo. I'm going to give this one to you. It was, were you surprised Washington didn't take a QB or tight end in the draft?
Great question, my friend. And he follows me. I follow him. I appreciate that love. I wasn't surprised as far as the quarterback position, because I think, look, when they brought in Jacoby Brissett, I think that almost cemented the fact that they felt comfortable with their quarterback room. We've seen when they've had three quarterbacks, that's been one too many. And you can go back to the days of Jay Gruden and Mike Shanahan and different guys. They only carry two quarterbacks, at least on the active roster. So I think Ron Rivera is kind of adopting that philosophy a little bit, of maybe Eric Bieniemy, who knows, kind of got him to see that. That's what they were doing in Kansas City as well, with Chad Henne backing up Patrick Mahomes. So no, I wasn't surprised. I think that, when we talk about drafting a quarterback to develop, why? Because the guy you're trying to develop is going to be your starter on day one, and that's Sam Howell. So he's backed up by a veteran professional backup. So I think, that made sense for them not to draft at that point, bring in some free agents, which they've done, undrafted free agents, to see what they can do. Also, as far as the tight end position, that kind of, it was a little shocking to say the least. Just from the standpoint that I think that, there were some guys that were sitting there when their picks were coming up. And, but I've been telling people for a long time, I truly feel like the four tight ends that they have on the roster right now, I just think that they can get the job done. I think, if you really look at their body of work, John Bates is a really nice young tight end. Maybe limited in some facets of his game, but he's a really good blocker and can do some things. Amani Rogers is a guy, I think, when they've given him an opportunity, he's done something. Cole Turner, we already know, the basketball background, and I think he could be a weapon if it all comes together. Obviously, Eric Bieniemy is the guy that'll see if he can pull it out of him. And then, of course, Logan Thomas, Candi. He's been injured last year. He came back from that injury and wasn't really himself. Takes a year for you to get your leg under you, and I expect for him to have a nice bounce back season this year.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, do they take a tight end or not? But we had so many conversations last year about was that tight end group even utilized?
No, not at all.
Right. So not at all.
Yeah, I don't even know if Scott Turner had, tight end plays. And I mean, they really fell off, under his tutelage. And, we all know what Eric Bieniemy had in Kansas City, a Hall of Famer, and Travis Kelce. So that's a big part of their offense. And I do think that these guys have an opportunity as a collective unit. I think, the body of four can get you one. Obviously, they're never going to get what Kelce did in Kansas City because, like I said, he's probably one of the top 2 or 3 tight ends in history. So, all you have to do is get your tight ends collectively as a group to pull in maybe 60 catches in this offense with the weapons on the outside, and you're winning. That's going to be a good.
Yes, indeed. Now let's get into some other questions. I got to pull this up on the screen. These are some of the questions that came in early, and I wanted to give this one to you, like, because we talked about this. We talked about this over the weekend, which was about the pickup of Chris Rodriguez, right? And is this roster addition a greater impact on the futures of Antonio Gibson or Jonathan Williams? And then this comment came in. This is from Lamar Bland. Not only is Rodriguez a battering ram between the tackles and in short yard situations, but he's also a standout in blitz protection. So what does that pickup of Chris Rodriguez Jr. convey to you, Lake?
That they're going to have 4 running backs on the roster. So I think Patterson might be a guy that could be on the outside looking in, because I have talked to some folks and Bieniemy and company. They're high on Jonathan Williams. They like what he can bring to the table. He's tough, physical runner. And of course, Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson are really good young running backs, but you need to see a player on this roster that can maybe give you a burst. I don't know if any of those guys are game breakers. Antonio Gibson has speed, but they've asked him to become a more of a physical in between the tackles back, where you don't see that speed so much, and he's bulked up. So I just think that pick is a good move, because people have to remember too, in Kansas City's offense, they used fullbacks. That's a word and position that's kind of fallen by the wayside in the NFL, Candi. But Kansas City's definitely utilized kind of like an H-back look in their system. So clearly, the kid Rodriguez is exactly that, and that's exactly what he'll be in this offense. So he's got an opportunity to get some reps this year.
But Lake, here's another one for you. We talked about this one too. With what appears to be a log jam at outside corner, how safe is it to say that Kendall Fuller remains the veteran in that position group for his final year under contract? We talked about this a lot on Friday.
We sure did. I remember vividly having this conversation. I mean, the first reaction we got when they drafted Martin was, Kendall's gone. You bring in a guy like that, and he's a weapon as a nickel, and the slot guy on top of that. Perhaps you move on from Kendall. But then we both thought about this. Who's going to be the veteran in the room, in the secondary room in general? Cam Curl. I mean, Cam Curl's capable, but Cam Curl will only be in his 4th year. So, that's a lot to ask for anyone back there in that secondary to become kind of like the face of the group. So if Kendall Fuller is held on to, it's specifically going to be because he can give guys great tutelage, because he's an outstanding team player. Always has been about the team more so than himself. And, that's stuff that you can't really replace. But when it comes down to money, and I keep trying to tell people this too, you move on from Kendall Fuller, you save almost $8 million. And that's money that maybe you can use to put towards Cam Curl getting the deal. That's money that you can put down for, next year, or perhaps you have to re-sign a Chase Young or a Montez Sweat. So, It just frees up some flexibility for you from a financial standpoint.
Yeah, definitely. In a comment that came through specifically about that from Cortland Griffin, I think Kendall Fuller is out of there unless he can make the jump to safety. I think Cam has the moxie and respect to lead that group. They definitely have a lot of faith in Cam Curl. We heard that
Yeah.
repeatedly over last season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Cam Curl's my guy. I mean,
Yeah.
I think as far as young guys on the team, I mean, he's a guy that gets it, and he plays hard. He's a physical player, smart. I mean, he's everything you want, and you're in a football player. And the thing is that, people I think are looking too much into the fact that they haven't re-signed him yet. I
Mhm.
know he's been nicked up over the past couple of seasons, hasn't played a full season, but when he's on the field, he's a difference maker. He's definitely kind of a coach on the field for Jack Del Rio. So make no mistake about it, they value Cam Curl, and I like you and I were talking about last week during the draft. I personally feel like they're going to get a deal done with him before the season starts.
Yeah, definitely. I get that sense as well. And so I want to share in the spirit of transparency,
Hmm.
right? What that moment was like in the first round, Thursday night, when I know you and I had talked about Deontay Banks versus Joey Porter Jr. We had laughed and joked about that and our opinions on that. And then it was the revelation I had at that moment, like, oh my gosh,
I know
Christian Gonzalez is going to fall to the Commanders. I was just like losing it. And you were like, OMG. I was like, Lake. In all of the mock drafts, Christian was already gone.
it was almost
And
to be true, right?
it was too good to be true. And we get there and they pick Emmanuel Forbes, and it was like the air got sucked out of the media room because we were being loud about Christian Gonzalez, Christian Gonzalez, and then all we could think was, well, Fred Smoot will be a happy. He's happy. And we're happy that Fred is happy.
He was, and Fred let me know. He literally let me know that next morning, when Emmanuel Forbes was there in the building. Fred was just like a kid in a candy store. He couldn't stop smiling.
Yes.
Santana Moss, same thing. These guys love
Yep.
pick, and I think when you look at the tape on Emmanuel Forbes, you just see a playmaker. He's a
Mhm.
danger. Forget the size. I mean, this guy's done it at the highest level in college football, the SEC, and he did it at a really good rate. For 2 years, this guy was breaking records. So the one thing about this defense over the years is, as good as they've been as far as getting pressure on the quarterback and stopping the run and things like that, they haven't had any turnovers. And if you think about how good this defense could be if they can get a tip ball, if they can get a fumble recovery, if they can get a guy to step in on a route, and that's this guy, that's Emmanuel Forbes. So as I said earlier, before people discount his game and make the comparisons, embrace this young man. I mean, he's a really good football player, obviously deserving to be a first round draft pick. And you just have to get behind him and hope everything works out for the best. And I think it will. I think he's going to be a pleasant surprise for people who really didn't know about him. One thing I will say, not to get long winded here, but if you look at who this guy covered in the
Mhm.
SEC over the past couple seasons, it's like 5 or 6 first round wide receivers in that group. Jamar Chase, George Pickens. I mean, you name it. He went head to head with these guys and pretty much did great jobs on them. So, we're not talking about chopped liver here. We're talking about a guy that has a chance to come in here and make some noise.
Yeah, definitely. And a comment came through from Melvin Russ McCray that Forbes fit better with Jack's system. And he's not, and Jack isn't going to change how he runs his defense. We know that.
Yeah, I mean, he said, he told us, Candy, you remember, he said that
Yep.
he's played multiple things, so he doesn't feel like he's better at any one type of coverage more than another. He said he can adapt, and he also said he's been asked to play different things, so he's comfortable backpedaling. He's comfortable having his eyes read going forward. I mean, he's comfortable. And one thing I think you and I both picked up, as well as our media counterparts, the kid didn't lack confidence, but it wasn't arrogance. It wasn't brashness. He was very humble, quiet, well spoken. But you could just tell he's been playing with a chip on his shoulder about his size for a long time,
Yeah.
and ready to shut people up in the pro level too.
Yep. Definitely. Lake, thank you. Thank you so much. And there's more
Oh,
of this to come, everybody, because we all going to be spending a lot of time together here in the next few weeks in the season, like we do every year. But like, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right, keep doing your thing, sis. Good job.
All right, thank you. See you soon.
Bye bye.
My next guest is already ready. And actually, one of my guests came on a whole hour early, and they just waiting because they just wanted to get all this knowledge from Commanders Media. My next DC Sports Media family member, also a big brother of mine, that is Mr. Lou Holder himself.
Hey, Candi, how are you?
I'm good, Lou. How are you?
Good. It was good to see you out at the draft party and all the happenings. It's that time of year. So it's always good to see the media family.
It is. And it's that time of year. Do we have a time off? It
No,
doesn't seem like okay.
no. The NFL has made it. NFL's perfect marketing machine. They've made it so there are points throughout the entire year that you get excited about, right? You know, after the season's over, after the Super Bowl is over, it's the draft, it's the combine, it's the draft, and then it's the OTAs. And next thing you know, you're in training camp. There's never a dull moment. And somewhere in there, the schedule comes out, you know? So it's always like they know how to feed the machine. So no, our job is never really over because that's the one sport in this country that people just salivate over, you know, and they've done a great job. So no, to answer your question, we never really have a time off if you're in a city that has an NFL football team.
That's right. And Lou, listen, and you know, your little sister here would not gas you, right? I would not, like pump your head up. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to be very transparent. I was trying to catch all of the comments to put it up on the screen of, hi, Lou. Hey, Lou. Lou Holder. OMG, I'm a big fan. And I can't catch them because there's so many coming through all at the same time. So I just want to let you know there's some people watching that are very excited and happy to see you because I didn't tell anybody who was going to be on the show.
I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. And I'm so proud of you and what you're doing. And you're the next, you're the next. I did have a program at the Prince George's Community College where I honored women in broadcasting, and I gave a special invitation for you to come because we heard from some legends like Maureen Bunyan and Andrea Roan, and then we heard from some people currently crushing it on TV like Allison Seymour and Allison Starling. But then you're the baton. You're the next. You and Donna and Karita and so many others that I see grinding and doing a great job. I'm really, really proud of you, and just continue to rep it. Continue to rep it, little sis.
I appreciate that. I so appreciate it. And you help keep me going when things get crazy. So I appreciate that. Now we definitely got some questions in, Lou. Sure. So I picked out a couple and I said, I think Lou would like these. Here's one for you, Lou. And I think this came in from Russ McCray. And his comment was he finds it odd that there doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency with the Commanders and that there's still time to make moves. Is that your sense as well, Lou?
Well, I just think that there's more mature voices in the room now. I don't think that you need to. Well, first of all, you really can't do too much because although Ron Rivera would say that, he's in charge, but when you have ownership uncertainty, there's only so much that you can really do, right? And they only tell us so much when we go out to the park. And again, fan is short for fanatic, so you really can't. People go off their emotions. You got to be more stay the path. So sometimes when it takes longer to make moves, you're very apprehensive when you don't believe in the people at the top. But when you start to believe in people at the top, and when I mean people at the top, Martin Mayhew, Eric Bieniemy, you're seeing Ron Rivera. We go back and forth with Ron Rivera as Coach Ron. There's Coach Ron, and then there is front office Ron, right?
Yeah.
And the front office Ron and the Coach Ron sometimes, they clash. So he's wearing a couple of hats there. So you gotta keep that in mind. So I'm not around moves and everything like that. The biggest move that this team made was not on draft day, was not, Emmanuel Forbes or whatever. The the biggest addition was Eric Bieniemy, right?
Mm.
That's like their number one draft pick, right? So I'm just thinking that Washington was on the clock right after the Super Bowl when they got Eric Bieniemy and we went to that press conference. Everything after that is predicated, Candi, on the fact that they got Eric Bieniemy.
That's the
right?
truth right there.
They got Eric Bieniemy, which allowed them to go defense 1 and 2, right? And again, I wanted an offensive lineman. A lot of people wanted an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
But what that move basically said was, you know what? We are going to be because the takeaways, they only 26th in the league. They were bad at takeaways, right? Now this Emmanuel Forbes, who not only takes it away, he runs it to the house, right? Basically, what they're saying with these moves, or with the first couple moves in the draft, is that we are going to give you as short of a field as we can, Eric Bieniemy, and you just do your thing. And I like it. I like it. I like it. I mean, they did get a pick in the third round, an offensive lineman from Arkansas, a Razorback, a hog. So I mean, like they did address it. I would have liked to have gone higher. But when you have Eric Bieniemy, I think that's the number one draft pick right there.
Yeah. I mean, we got a different type of pedigree in the room making these decisions.
Correct.
And they're looking at other things in a very different way. I mean, because he's looking from a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah. And I've been here a long time, Candi. I mean, this is 21 years now I've been covering this team. And even when Sean was here, even when Sean Taylor was here, and they had Fred Smoot, and they had a lot of pieces. They even had Philip Daniels and Ronaldo Wynn, and they had Andre Carter. They had people that could get to the quarterback, but never like Payne and Allen, and then St. Juste, and now Emmanuel Forbes. They got bigger, they got stronger, they got faster. Now the front and the back, there's no real huge weaknesses on that defense. So they got to turn this ball over. They got to be like the Ravens of the day. And again, when you are thinking about what happened, Ron Rivera was on that Bears team that was legendary, right? He knew when those guys turned that ball over and how they got to the quarterback, right? And he this is a Buddy Ryan disciple, right? So I'm not really surprised that they went after the defense like they did. I wanted offensive linemen, but because of Eric Bieniemy, that gave you a chance to go after defensive players 1 and 2.
Here's your next question.
Sure.
So this is a kind of loaded one, okay? But I think it's one that has been looming right since we know that a sale is underway and all of that. But how long is the rope for Ron Rivera? Your opinion. Do the new owners come in and clean house? What are your thoughts on just how big this season is for Ron Rivera as the head coach?
Well, I mean, it's big, but the ownership is not going to come in and clean house. At least not. I mean, because look how long it's going. Like we're looking at May now before there's a decision. I grew up outside that Philadelphia area, and I keep in touch with a lot of the guys in there. Harris is not that type of person. They're going to. Ron Rivera is very respected in the NFL. He's not one of the Washington Commanders fans are frustrated sometimes with Ron Rivera, but the outside perception of the league, right, was the only thing that was actually reputable on the staff, right? No one really said, you know what, Scott Turner is the man, right? No one even really says that Jack Del Rio is just legendary. What they did say that Ron Rivera is totally respected, from Sal Palantonio, who we've seen, to Stacey Dales from the NFL Network, to Mike Tirico, all these people that I talked to during the year. I asked them, what is the one constant in the Commanders franchise that you can say is a positive? And without question, some even stopped me before I even finished the sentence. Ron Rivera.
Yeah. Ron
Rivera, right? So again, now you're giving them all these pieces. You got Eric Bieniemy, right? Now what I hope what happens is that you let EB be free.